The United States Naval Institute published a single sentence that contained more strategic consequence than anything the Pentagon said publicly that week. That sentence, confirmed by the United States Naval Institute news verbatim, read as follows. Meanwhile, the next aircraft carrier expected to deploy from the United States finished its training exercise on Thursday, the Navy announced. The carrier in question was the USS George H.W. Bush, CVN-77, the 10th and final Nimitz-class nuclear-powered aircraft carrier ever built. It had just completed 28 days of pre-deployment workups off Cape Hatteras, North Carolina, during which, as the United States Naval Institute confirmed in the same report, Carrier Air Wing 7 flew 1,586 sorties, tallied 693 arrested landings during the day, and 682 at night. The Bush's commanding officer, Captain Robert Bebo, confirmed in a Navy press release published March 6th, "We know our fellow service members are operating in harm's way right now. Our job is to ensure that when they need us, whether for air superiority, strike, electronic warfare, or presence, we are ready to deliver immediately and without hesitation." That statement was published while the USS Abraham Lincoln was launching F-35C fighters from the Arabian Sea, and the U.S. Gerald R. Ford was transiting the Suez Canal into the Red Sea. 3 American supercarriers simultaneously, the USS Abraham Lincoln in the Arabian Sea, the USS Gerald R. Ford in the Red Sea, and the USS George H.W. Bush preparing to cross the Atlantic Ocean to take a position in the eastern Mediterranean. That 3-position architecture, 1 carrier for each approach axis into Iranian territory, 1 carrier facing Iran's southern coast across the Arabian Sea, 1 carrier facing Iran's southwestern coast across the Red Sea, and 1 carrier facing Iran's western and northwestern targets across the Mediterranean, is the closest thing the United States Navy has produced since the Persian Gulf War of 1991 to what military analysts call a comprehensive envelopment, and the target that envelopment is designed to compress. The confirmed reason it takes 3 carriers and not 2 is the one component of Iran's military architecture that American air power has not yet succeeded in destroying, despite 10 days of sustained airstrikes. The coastal anti-ship missile battery network that rings the Strait of Hormuz extends across the Iranian coastline from Bandar Abbas to the Makran coast and has been the centerpiece of Iran's anti-access strategy against the United States Navy since the 1990s. This is the confirmed account of why that network exists, how it works, why 2 carriers have not been enough to suppress it, what 3 carriers are designed to do against it, and why the most important strategic question about Operation Epic Fury, as it enters its 2nd week, is not whether the Bush will arrive, because it will arrive, but whether it will arrive in time to matter before Iran's coastal batteries finish doing to the Strait of Hormuz what the Iranian naval surface fleet, now confirmed by Admiral Brad Cooper to number more than 30 ships sunk or destroyed, was supposed to do and failed. Begin with the fundamental operational geography that makes Iran's coastal battery network the most consequential military problem in the Strait of Hormuz theater, because it is the geography, not the missiles themselves, that explains why destroying the batteries is simultaneously the essential precondition for reopening the strait and the hardest single military objective in the entire campaign. The Strait of Hormuz at its narrowest point, confirmed by Army Recognition Group analysis, is approximately 21 nautical miles wide. That is 39 kilometers. The shipping lanes within that 21 nautical mile channel are constrained by shallow water to a navigable width of approximately 2 miles in each direction. Every tanker, every bulk carrier, every container vessel that transits the Strait of Hormuz must pass through those 2-mile shipping lanes for approximately 90 minutes, while any fixed radar or spotter on the Iranian coast can track it continuously. Now add the confirmed Iranian coastal battery architecture to that geography. The Army Recognition Group's confirmed analysis of Iran's layered coastal defense, published during the pre-war buildup, documented the following confirmed battery systems ringing the strait. C-701 COSAR missiles based on the Chinese C-701, with ranges covering the inner approaches. C-704 Nasser missiles based on the Chinese C-704, truck-mounted and mobile. C-802 Nor missiles, Iran's domestically reverse-engineered derivative of the Chinese C-802, confirmed by Wikipedia, with a range of 130 kilometers from the original 30 kilometers of the base Chinese export version. C-802, a Gator missiles, the extended range variant confirmed by Army Recognition Group to have ranges around 200 kilometers, and the older HY-2 Seersucker missiles, confirmed by Simsec's naval analysis to still be referenced in operational inventories. The Center for International Maritime Security's confirmed analysis of the Strait of Hormuz geometry described the historical positioning of those batteries with the following precision. Iran's coastal missile defenses are arranged in rings around the Strait of Hormuz, Keshem Island, and nearby Kishk, thereby forcing any ship entering the strait to sail through their missile envelope. Every ship, including a U.S. Navy destroyer, including a convoy of escorted tankers, including any vessel attempting to restore commercial shipping to the 20% of global seaborne oil trade that transited the Strait in the weeks before Operation Epic Fury began and has not transited it since. The Windward Maritime Intelligence daily confirmed on March 7th that only 3 crossings were recorded in the entire strait on that single day, against a pre-war daily average of approximately 27. 3 crossings against 27. That is an 11% traffic rate on the world's most strategically vital maritime choke point. And the reason commercial shipping has not returned, despite the destruction of more than 30 Iranian naval vessels, is that the coastal battery network, confirmed by Army Recognition Group to consist of truck-mounted mobile launchers that can fire and relocate before counter-battery aircraft can respond, remains operational, remains positioned, and remains tracking every vessel that approaches the strait from the Gulf of Oman. Here is the confirmed technical description of why the coastal batteries are the hardest military target in the campaign, and why the Army Recognition Group's analysis identified the suppression of those batteries as a precondition for reopening Hormuz, rather than a consequence of the broader air campaign's success. The critical word in the confirmed technical literature on Iranian coastal batteries is mobile. The Vogon Today Economic Scenarios Analysis of the Iranian Coastal Defense Network, published in February of 2026, confirmed the following. Iran has peppered its mountainous coastline with mobile batteries hidden in underground bunkers. Systems such as the Noor, a copy of the Chinese C-802, the Qadr, and the Gadir, can cover the entire Strait of Hormuz. Fired in large salvos, they pose a serious saturation threat. Mobile, hidden in underground bunkers. The SimSec analysis confirmed the operational logic of the truck-mounted launcher system with a phrase that captures the fundamental targeting problem those systems create for any air campaign. The land-based variants had the advantage over the HY-1 and HY-2 systems, insofar as they could be mounted on vehicles and guided by mobile radar stations, instead of being pegged to fixed launch sites. This means the missiles can be used in a shoot-and-scoot fashion. Shoot and scoot. The launcher positions its truck, acquires a target via mobile radar or data-linked targeting from a coastal spotter, fires, and relocates before the aircraft that detected the launch signature can compute a return bearing, program a weapon, and deliver a strike. The Army Recognition Group's layered defense analysis confirmed the strategic implication of that shoot and scoot architecture with the most important sentence in the entire pre-war technical assessment of what defeating Iran's coastal battery network would require. Iran's most survivable launchers keep operating after fixed sites and static radars have been hit. Fixed sites can be destroyed on day 1. Static radars can be silenced with AGM-88 HARM anti-radiation missiles in the first hours of a siege campaign. Mobile truck-mounted launchers that activate their radar only for the seconds required to acquire a target and fire a missile. Then power down and relocate cannot be destroyed in the first wave. They cannot be destroyed in a sustained campaign unless there is persistent surveillance, confirmed kill chains from persistent surveillance to strike aircraft, and enough strike assets covering enough geographic area simultaneously to make the time between shooter detection and shooter destruction shorter than the time required for the shooter to relocate. That is the operational requirement the 3-carrier envelopment is designed to meet. And it is the operational requirement that 2 carriers, operating in the Arabian Sea and the Red Sea, cannot meet against a coastal battery network that covers both of those approaches simultaneously from fixed mountain terrain on the Iranian coastline. Drop a comment right now. Iran's coastal anti-ship missile batteries are truck-mounted, mobile, hidden in underground bunkers, and confirmed by Army Recognition Group to keep operating after fixed sites and static radars have been destroyed. The USS Abraham Lincoln and USS Gerald R. Ford have been conducting airstrikes for 10 days. Windward confirmed on March 7th that Hormuz is still at 3 crossings per day against a pre-war average of 27. That is 11% of normal traffic on the waterway that carries 20% of global seaborne oil. Do you think the 2 carriers currently on station have the strike coverage necessary to suppress mobile, shoot, and scoot launchers across 700 kilometers of Iranian mountainous coastline simultaneously? And if this analysis is building toward the confirmed picture of what the Bush's arrival in the Mediterranean changes about the geometry of the 3-carrier envelopment, and why the timing of that arrival against the current operational tempo may be the most consequential military timeline in the campaign, hit the like button, because what comes next is the confirmed account of what 3 carriers from 3 positions do to a coastal battery network that 2 carriers from 2 positions cannot. Here's the confirmed operational logic of the 3-carrier envelopment, and why the Army Recognition Group's analysis of the 3-carrier firepower question, published on March 3rd of 2026, used the word simultaneously in the sentence that matters most. Army Recognition Group confirmed the following. Positioning multiple carrier strike groups across the region would allow the United States to counter these threats while projecting power from several directions simultaneously. Aircraft launched from carriers operating in the Mediterranean Sea could strike targets in Syria or western Iran, while carriers positioned in the Red Sea or Arabian Sea could conduct operations against targets in Yemen or southern Iran. This multi-axis approach complicates defensive planning for Iranian forces by forcing them to monitor threats coming from several directions across a vast operational theater. Force them to monitor threats from several directions. That phrase is the operational key to understanding why the coastal battery network is the specific target the three-carrier envelopment is designed to address. A coastal battery commander operating a truck-mounted Nor or Gator launcher does not need to monitor threats from multiple directions. If the threat is only coming from one or two directions, the Lincoln in the Arabian Sea threatens the Iranian coast from the south and southeast. The Ford in the Red Sea threatens the Iranian coast from the southwest via Yemeni airspace in the Bab el-Mandeb. But the mountainous Iranian coastline from Bandar Abbas westward along the Persian Gulf Coast, where the most concentrated coastal battery positions are confirmed to ring the Strait, faces neither the Arabian Sea directly nor the Red Sea. It faces the Persian Gulf and the approaches from the northwest, which is the approach axis that a carrier operating in the eastern Mediterranean, striking across Iraq in the northern Arabian Peninsula, or operating in the northern Red Sea and striking across Saudi Arabia provides. When the Bush reaches the eastern Mediterranean, the Iranian coastal battery network for the first time in this conflict faces a confirmed three-axis threat. Airstrikes potentially approaching from the Arabian Sea to the southeast, from the Red Sea to the southwest, and from the Mediterranean to the northwest. A truck-mounted launcher positioned in a mountain bunker above the Strait of Hormuz cannot simultaneously hide from three approach axes if all three are generating active targeting pressure. The shoot-and-scoot tactic depends on the launcher being able to move away from the detected threat vector. If three threat vectors are active simultaneously and the mountain terrain that allows the launcher to hide from one vector exposes it to another, the mobility advantage that has allowed the coastal batteries to survive the first 10 days of airstrikes is geometrically compressed. That is what the three-carrier envelopment does. It does not add more bombs. It adds more angles. And it is the angles, confirmed by Army Recognition Group's multi-axis analysis, that the shoot-and-scoot network cannot evade once coverage becomes truly simultaneous for more than two approach vectors. Now, apply the confirmed air wing mathematics to make the scale of what the Bush adds to the envelopment quantitatively precise, because the numbers matter for understanding both the envelopment's potential and its current gap. Army Recognition Group confirmed each carrier air wing typically embarks approximately 65 to 75 aircraft, including FA-18EF Super Hornet strike fighters, EA-18G Growler electronic warfare aircraft, and E-2D Advanced Hawkeye airborne early warning platforms. The Lincoln carries Carrier Air Wing 9, confirmed by Army Recognition Group, which includes FA-18EF Super Hornets and F-35C Lightning II fighters from Marine Fighter Attack Squadron 314. The Ford carries Carrier Air Wing 8, confirmed by Stars and Stripes with Super Hornets and EA-18G Growlers. The Bush carries Carrier Air Wing 7, confirmed by USNI News, which flew 1,586 sorties across 28 training days, averaging approximately 56 sorties per day in peacetime workups. In a combat surge, each carrier is confirmed capable of generating approximately 120 to 130 sorties per day, confirmed by Stars and Stripes, citing Navy operational data. Three carriers surging simultaneously produces approximately 360 to 390 combat sorties per day from carrier-based aircraft alone, before adding the confirmed land-based assets: B-2 stealth bombers, Fahi-15E Strike Eagles, F-22 Raptors at Avda Air Base in Israel confirmed by Mazar Vision, and 7 E-3 AWACS at Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia also confirmed by Mazar Vision. Add to the carrier air wings the confirmed Tomahawk cruise missile capacity of the escort destroyers. Arleigh Burke-class destroyers carry up to 96 Tomahawk missiles each, confirmed by CNN. The Bush Carrier Strike Group brings 3 to 4 additional Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, confirmed by Military Watch magazine, adding up to 288 additional Tomahawk capacity to a theater where the existing destroyer force has already fired confirmed salvos against Iranian targets from the first days of Operation Epic Fury. And add to the air wing sorties and Tomahawk capacity the one additional confirmed capability that the Bush brings that neither the Lincoln nor the Ford currently provides. The Bush carries Carrier Air Wing 7, which is equipped with EA-18G Growler electronic warfare aircraft, whose specific operational mission, the suppression of enemy radar systems using AGM-88 HARM anti-radiation missiles, is the confirmed precondition for the CAD campaign that the Navy Lookout analysis confirmed is essential to opening Hormuz. If an Iranian coastal radar activates to acquire a targeting solution for a Noor or Gator launcher, an EA-18G Growler can detect a radar emission, compute its location, and deliver an AGM-88 harm missile to that location within seconds. The shoot and scoot tactic keeps launchers alive. The CED campaign targets the radars the launchers depend on to acquire targets, suppress enough coastal radars permanently, and the remaining launchers become blind shooters firing missiles at last known shipping lane positions without real-time targeting updates, which is the difference between a guided anti-ship missile following a live radar track and an unguided ballistic projectile fired toward a general area. The Bush adds the third axis of SEAD coverage that turns the coastal battery network from a shoot and scoot survival problem into a simultaneous three-front suppression problem that the mountain terrain and the mobile launcher doctrine were not designed to survive. Here is the confirmed constraint that every strategic assessment of the three-carrier envelopment must address honestly, because it is the number that separates the operational plan from the operational reality as of March 10, 2026. The Bush is still at sea, crossing the Atlantic Ocean, and is confirmed by Ynet News to be approximately 10 to 12 days from the eastern Mediterranean as of March 7th. Global Defense Corp, citing military analyst assessments published March 7th, confirmed the Bush will likely arrive just as the war enters its critical fourth week. The critical fourth week. Mark Cancian, the senior analyst at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, confirmed in his assessment published by Stars and Stripes on March 9th the fundamental constraint that the Bush's deployment timeline reflects. When Iran erupted and the president said help is on the way, the United States didn't have the forces, particularly a carrier, to make that threat real. 4 carriers confirmed by Stars and Stripes are in maintenance or overhaul: the USS John C. Stennis in multi-year midlife overhaul, the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower in 17-month incremental maintenance, the USS Ronald Reagan in dry dock, and the USS Harry S. Truman in maintenance. The Zona Militar analysis, published March 9th, confirmed the full carrier readiness picture: 3 carriers deployed or in active service, 2 in a readiness phase for future deployments, including the Bush and the Theodore Roosevelt, 2 in post-deployment maintenance, including the Carl Vinson and the Nimitz, and 4 in scheduled maintenance or repair. Out of 11 carriers, 3 are active, 2 are training, and 6 are unavailable. Military Watch magazine confirmed it is highly unusual for 3 carrier groups to operate in the same region simultaneously. The deployment of a third supercarrier was expected, Military Watch confirmed, to help compensate for both the large-scale destruction of U.S. bases in the Middle East by Iranian strikes, severe missile defense shortages, as well as the depletion of the missile arsenals of the existing carrier groups for both offensive and defensive duties. The Bush is not arriving to supplement a campaign that is going well. It is arriving, confirmed by Military Watch, because the campaign needs it to compensate for depletion that the first 10 days of combat have already produced. The depletion of the missile arsenals of the existing carrier groups. That phrase, confirmed by Military Watch magazine on March 7th, is the most strategically significant confirmed assessment of the envelopment's timing gap. The Lincoln's destroyers have been firing SM-2, SM-3, and SM-6 interceptors continuously since February 28th against Iranian drones and ballistic missiles. The supply chain script in this series documented the confirmed assessment from 1945 that if strikes continue 10-plus days, critical missile stocks could run low. March 10th is day 11 of Operation Epic Fury. The Bush is bringing 3 to 4 additional Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, confirmed by Military Watch, with their full Tomahawk and interceptor loadouts. It is bringing those replenishment-level magazine stocks to a theater where the existing destroyer force has been firing continuously for 11 days. The envelopment is not just about angles. It is also about magazines. Watch 3 confirmed publicly trackable indicators in the coming 15 days that will tell you whether the 3-carrier envelopment is producing the coastal battery suppression that reopening the Strait of Hormuz requires. The first indicator is the Windward Maritime Daily Intelligence Brief for the week of March 10th through March 24th, specifically whether the number of confirmed daily Strait of Hormuz crossings increases from the March 7th confirmed figure of 3 against a pre-war average of 27. An increase from 3 toward 10 or more daily crossings within the first 5 days of confirmed Bush operational presence in the eastern Mediterranean would be the first quantitative confirmation that the 3-axis SEAD coverage is suppressing enough coastal battery radar networks to make transit risk insurance acceptable for commercial operators. The shipping companies that suspended transits, confirmed by Wikipedia to include Maersk, CMA CGM, Hapag-Lloyd, and MSC, are not waiting for a political signal to resume operations. They are waiting for a risk signal. The risk signal they need is that the coastal battery network that sank the MKD Viom, struck the skylight, and keeps 3 crossings per day against 27 is no longer reliably tracking ships in the shipping lanes. The Windward Daily Brief is the most precise, publicly available indicator of that risk signal changing. The second indicator is whether CENTCOM releases any battle damage assessment specifically naming coastal battery positions as confirmed destroyed, rather than confirming the sinking of Iranian naval surface vessels and the destruction of fixed military infrastructure at Bandar Abbas and other naval bases. CENTCOM has published confirmed ship sinking assessments in detail. More than 30 ships, the drone carrier on fire, the main submarine destroyed. It has not published a confirmed coastal battery suppression assessment naming specific battery positions or mobile launcher systems as confirmed destroyed. If CENTCOM publishes a named coastal battery destruction assessment before the Bush reaches the eastern Mediterranean, it will be the first confirmed evidence that the two-carrier operation currently on station has achieved meaningful shoot and scoot suppression without the third axis the Bush provides. If CENTCOM's first named coastal battery assessment comes after the Bush reaches position, the timing will confirm what the Army Recognition Group's multi-axis analysis predicted, that meaningful coastal battery suppression requires simultaneous three-axis pressure, not sequential two-carrier strikes. And the third indicator is the Brent crude oil price, which Windward confirmed stood at $104 per barrel during the early days of the conflict, and which the Times of Israel confirmed reached $119.50 per barrel on Monday, March 2nd, its highest level since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February of 2022. When commercial shipping restores meaningful volume through the Strait of Hormuz, the 3 crossings per day that Windward confirmed on March 7th will begin recovering toward the pre-war average of 27. And oil markets will price that recovery before CENTCOM announces it. A Brent crude price declining below $90 per barrel would confirm that traders are pricing meaningful Hormuz restoration probability, not just theoretical hope. A Brent price remaining above $100 through the Bush's confirmed arrival and operational integration into the envelopment would confirm that the markets are reading the 3-carrier architecture, the same way the Army Recognition Group's confirmed analysis reads it, as necessary but not yet sufficient to suppress a coastal battery network that was designed specifically to survive the first 10 days of exactly this air campaign. The USS Abraham Lincoln has been in the Arabian Sea since before the war began. The USS Gerald R. Ford transited the Suez Canal on March 5th. The USS George H.W. Bush wrapped its last training sortie on March 6th and pointed its bow toward the Atlantic crossing. 3 carriers, 3 axes, 360 combat sorties per day at full surge, 9 to 12 additional Arleigh Burke-class destroyers with full Tomahawk and Interceptor magazines, and a coastal battery network of truck-mounted Nor and Gator launchers hidden in mountain bunkers above the Strait of Hormuz, shoot and scoot capable, confirmed by Army Recognition Group to keep operating after fixed sites and static radars have been hit. That has held the world's most important maritime choke point at 11% of its normal traffic for 11 days, while the envelopment's 3rd carrier is still crossing the ocean. The plan exists. The geometry is confirmed. The 3rd carrier is coming. The question that the Windward Daily Brief, the CENTCOM battle damage assessments, and the Brent crude oil price will answer together in the coming 15 days is whether it arrives in time.